All right, viewers, we welcome you once again. So my name's Fumbani and Richard. Today we are looking at the fundamental principles of a good spray program for tomatoes, remember. So, Richard, what are some of the fundamental principles of a good spray program, which needs to underpin every spray program that we design for the farmers?
That's a very good question from Bani. So normally when you want to manage these crops, or even when you're setting up a spray schedule, at least you need to have a holistic approach. So by that we mean you need to think of the preventive aspects before even these diseases or the pests set in. So in that regard, you look at first the variety you're getting, make sure it's a good variety resistant against maybe certain diseases that are prevalent in your area. Then next to that, if you are making your own seedlings, make sure you do it properly, you follow the right procedures in terms of disease management. If you're getting seedlings, make sure you get from a reputable supplier. And then next to that, on the preventive aspect, you also look at your plant debris. If you're on your land preparation, make sure you remove all that plant debris, because sometimes the diseases and also the pests, they tend to harbor in those debris. Next to that, you look at the plant spacing. So it has to ensure that you follow the right plant spacing, because it's important also to just have that good air circulation in the field. That also helps you just prevent unnecessary diseases. So next to that, you also have to, when it comes to control of these pests, you have to consider an integrated pest management, that is IPM.
Well, that's an interesting topic there, or an interesting subject you brought up. What is IPM?
Okay, so IPM, you're just trying to, in a layman, we can say, trying to control the pests in different ways. So it can be chemical. I think that's what's most common. Most farmers will mostly run to chemicals, but you can do it chemicals, you can do your cultural aspect, you can also do your biological. Yeah, so once you integrate all these things and try to control those pests, at least it has shown that you get very good results, and at least you also have that sustainable farming practice.
Okay, so if we delve deeper into chemical control, the use of pesticides, how important is it then that farmers should look at mode of actions? Is mode of action something we should recommend our farmers to think about, to use pesticides from different modes of actions or chemical groups?
Definitely, because what happens is we've seen like farmers, they'll maybe have trust in one chemical to say, oh, this chemical works. But if you continuously use that chemical, it tends to build up resistance. So in the end, you might find that it will work for you, but on other times it might not work the same way. So it's important to alternate these chemicals, because and also you focus on the modes of actions. So if you alternate, it means you tend to disturb that resistance.
So you're trying to avoid the buildup of resistance. Oh, that's what I'm getting. Okay, so that's fine. But what about in terms of spray timings? Let's say we're coming from a rain season, right? Most people will say it's difficult to grow tomatoes in rain season, isn't it?
Yes.
So what are some of the key fundamentals they should look at when they're spraying pesticides or chemicals in the rain season?
Okay, so one of the key ones, of course, in rain season, farmers advise to use stickers, but you also look at the rain fastness of those the pesticides that you're using. So in a case where you identify that maybe within a short time it will rain, would advise maybe you don't go in and spray, because even if you have, for example, a sticker and then it rains within a short time, you'll find that most of that chemical will be washed away, and you will not get very good control. So in terms of your timing, especially during the rain season, you have to also look at the weather and make sure that you spray at a time when it's not likely to rain. Of course, that can be a difficult thing, but at least that's that's something that should be considered. And also you look at the wind. If it's too windy, then that's also not a good time to spray. Then the other thing also, some chemicals don't do well when it's too sunny. Yeah, so you find that due to the UV, the light, it tends to reduce on the efficacy of those chemicals. Yeah.
So you've touched on rainfastness, UV. So the rainfastness of viewers is basically each product has got a minimum allowed period that it needs to be in contact with the leaves or the plants before you can have rain. That's what we call the rainfastness. So it ranges, others are 4 hours, 2 hours, 6 hours. So that is very important aspect to follow. Then we also touched about the UV. So in terms of the UV, it's just basically your photo radiation. So some chemicals, once you spray them on the leaf, they tend to degrade. So you are better off spraying them in the late parts of the evening or late parts of the day as the sun is going to set, so that they have the whole 12 hours from 18 to maybe in the morning to work. Interesting. What about when does it become really necessary to spray? So there's an aspect of scouting as part of your integrated pest management, isn't it? So your preventative approach. So you've scouted for the pests. When do you decide that it's now time to use a pesticide?
Ideally, you expect it to be scouting your fields to see what kind of pests are there. But then it's not always the case that when you find the pests, it means you have to maybe, in this case, maybe use chemicals to kill those pests. So some pests, of course, they are what is known as economic thresholds that you need to consider. It might not be necessary. You might find that it might even be more costly to spray as compared to the amount of loss that you can incur from that. So if the damage that it's causing, or the injury that the pest is causing on that crop isn't significant, then they might not need to spray. On the other side, there are pests that are really devastating. So pests like Tuta absoluta, it's really devastating, and it tends to spread faster. Yeah, so for such pests, normally you don't actually wait for those economic thresholds because the rate at which it spreads is usually high. Same applies with maybe your spider mites in the hot season. They also spread quite fast. So for such pests, you just need, whenever you see them, at least you need to, if you are going with a chemical way, at least you need to go in and start controlling that right away. And also the timing as well is important there, in terms of how frequent do you spray that. Yeah, so you can also look at that. So
do you mean certain pesticides can only be sprayed certain number of times in a season? That's what you're talking about, or what are you trying to get at?
Yes, so you find that for certain chemicals, if you follow even just on the labels, you advise maybe to just spray maybe 3 times or twice in a season. Yeah, because it's an issue of like what we talked about earlier, of you don't want to build resistance for that chemical, because otherwise if you continue using the same chemical over and over, it might end up not working for you.
For our viewers there, Richard also touched on something very important, which is the label. So we say, read the label because it's law. So the label is very important. It's very important that no matter how much you're used to the product, no matter how much you know it, you've been using it for years, since time immemorial, that you read and understand the label. Also, the label touches on aspects of safety. So what we advise our farmers is that even as they are administering this pesticide, they need to make sure that they protect themselves. So they need to put on what we call PPE, that is protective clothing. So they need to protect themselves because pesticides are harmful to our health. And that's pretty much it on the fundamental principles of the spray program. Thank you very much. Till next time.